Hey there. Let's get right into something that I think is both, well, kind of radical, but also just so incredibly necessary. We're going to challenge that constant nagging pressure to always be happy. We're going to talk about how to find real strength, real validation in our actual, honest to goodness feelings, no matter what they are. Let's just start with this right here. Because honestly, for so many of us, the answer is just a quiet, bone deep, exhausted yes. There's this fatigue, isn't there? The kind that comes from putting on a performance of happiness day in and day out, from forcing a smile when you feel like you're about to break, from saying, I'm fine, when you know you're anything but. I love this quote because it just cuts right through all the noise. We've somehow been tricked into thinking we need to present this perfect, always-on, shiny version of ourselves to the world. But listen, your worth isn't measured by how positive you can seem. You're way more complex, way more interesting, and just far more real than any marketing campaign. And just think about the sheer amount of energy it takes to keep that performance up. It's exactly like wearing a heavy mask, all day, every day. Underneath, you could be completely falling apart, but on the surface, you're projecting everything is fine. And that effort, it's not just draining. It actively cuts us off from real connection, both with other people and, honestly, with ourselves. If this feeling sounds familiar, you absolutely have to know this. It is not just you. We're talking millions of people, all struggling with that same quiet fear that we're somehow wrong for not being happy 24/7. This isn't some kind of personal failure. It's a massive shared cultural condition. You are in very, very good company. Okay, so this brings us to a really crucial shift in thinking. It's time to redefine our whole relationship with our emotions, to move from judging them to actually understanding them. And let's start with a foundational truth, right here, right now. You are not broken. You have never been broken. We all carry these ideas around, don't we? These really deeply ingrained and frankly painful beliefs. We think our sadness is a glitch, a flaw in our system. We see our anxiety as proof that we're not good enough, that we're failing. We even rush to find the lesson or the silver lining in our pain before we've even given ourselves a minute to just feel it. But what if those interpretations are just wrong? So here's the reframe. This is the big one. Feeling sad or anxious or hurt doesn't mean you're defective. It means you're human. It means you are alive and paying attention to the world. You know, there's a real dignity in just allowing yourself to experience the whole messy, complicated, beautiful spectrum of what it means to be a person. You know that validation we're always looking for from the outside world? It actually starts inside. It begins in that moment we can finally turn towards our own difficult feelings, our own shadows, and say this to ourselves. Just this. I see you. I'm not going to run away from you or try to fix you. It's okay that you're here. That right there is radical self-acceptance. So let's just make it official. This is your explicit permission slip. You have permission to be messy, to not have it all figured out. You have permission to be quiet when the world is screaming at you to be loud. And maybe most important of all, you have permission to be unfinished. You're a work in progress, not some final, polished product. And that is perfectly okay. Okay, so if we give ourselves permission to feel, how do we actually do that in a practical way? Well, this leads us to this really powerful shift in your whole mindset, moving from being a fighter of your emotions to becoming a witness. This chart lays it out so clearly. Take a look at the left column, the conquering approach. Look familiar? It's all about fighting, fixing, judging, suppressing. Man, it is exhausting just reading it. Now look at the right side, the witnessing approach. It's about seeing, allowing, validating, understanding. It's a path of curiosity and compassion, not a constant battle. So what exactly do we mean by witnessing? It's actually a pretty simple, gentle practice. It's just noticing, observing what you're feeling as it is, without immediately trying to slap a good or bad label on it, and without that instant reflex to change it or get rid of it. You're just looking. That's it. And this brings us to our final and maybe most empowering idea of all. What if your feelings aren't actually enemies you have to defeat? What if they're more like messengers, carrying really valuable information? What if we could learn to see our emotions as data? So how does this look in real life? It's a pretty straightforward four-step process.
First, you just notice the feeling in your body. Where is it? What does it feel like? Second, you name it. Ah, this is grief, or okay, hello, anxiety, without adding, and I hate it. Third, you get curious. You just ask, what might you be trying to tell me? And finally, you just accept it as one more piece of data about what's going on inside you. And ultimately, this is the big takeaway. Our feelings are not roadblocks. They are not signs that we've
Hey there! Today we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of us feel, but we rarely ever say out loud. It's this kind of radical idea that, you know what? It's perfectly okay to not be okay. So let's just take a breath and dive right in.
So let me start by asking you a question. Do you ever feel that pressure? That constant, kind of unspoken pressure to always perform happiness? To always have it all together? To be on and positive all the time? It's a huge weight, right? And it can be absolutely exhausting.
And that exhaustion, it is so real. It's the silent fatigue that just creeps in from holding up that heavy mask day after day. You know the drill. You smile, you nod, you say, I'm fine. But underneath it all, you're just drained from the sheer effort of all that pretending. This quote just gets right to the heart of it. You're not a brand. You're not some kind of marketing campaign that has to project nonstop positivity. You're a complex human being with a full, rich, and sometimes messy range of emotions and experiences. And here's something that's really crucial to hear. Your difficult feelings are valid, period. Your pain, your sadness, your anxiety, they don't need to have some neat little lesson or a silver lining attached to be real. They're real simply because you're feeling them. That's enough. I mean, look at how we frame our internal narrative. So often, we default to that first column, don't we? I feel anxious, so I must be failing. But what if? What if we just shifted our perspective? What if feeling anxious simply means, well, that we're human? It is so important to really let this sink in. You are not broken for feeling sad. You're not failing because you experience anxiety. You are simply experiencing the full, messy, beautiful, and sometimes painful spectrum of what it means to be human. And if this is how you feel, please, please know you are not alone, not even close. Millions of us are feeling this exact same pressure, this sense that we're somehow wrong for just being our real, authentic selves. There's a real comfort in knowing that. So this all leads to a really big question. If forcing a smile and repeating motivational quotes isn't the answer, where does real validation come from? You know, the kind that actually soothes you. Well, the answer isn't out there somewhere. It's in here. And it's really a simple two-step process. First, you have to be willing to turn inward and actually look at your own darkness, the sadness, the fear, the doubt. And then you just offer it acceptance. You say, I see you, and it's okay that you're here. This represents such a fundamental shift. See, the old way was to treat our emotions like they were enemies we had to conquer. But the new path, it's just about witnessing them. You're not fighting, you're not fixing, you're just acknowledging. So let's define that key term, witnessing. What does that actually mean? It just means to observe your feelings without judging them. It's the simple but incredibly powerful act of acknowledging their presence without feeling that immediate urge to fix them or fight them. And when you can do that, when you can just sit with them, you start to realize a powerful truth. Your emotions, they're not your enemies. They're not obstacles you have to overcome. They're actually something way more useful. They're simply data. Yeah, think of it like that. Each feeling, whether it's joy or sorrow, is just a data point. It's a piece of information on your unique journey. Your feelings are like signposts, guiding you. They're not roadblocks stopping you. They are all just part of the path. So we'll leave you with this final and maybe most important thought. Give yourself permission. You are allowed to be messy. You are allowed to be quiet, and you are most certainly allowed to be a work in progress, to be gloriously, beautifully unfinished. And that is more than okay.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about a different kind of engineering. We're not building bridges or coding software. We're looking at our own inner world. We're going to explore a pretty radical shift, moving away from that constant pressure to fix how we feel, and toward the incredible power of just letting it be.
And you know what? Let's just start right here. With this is probably the most important idea we're going to talk about. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a permission slip that, honestly, most of us really, really need. This is the foundation for everything else.
Okay, so first up, the heavy mask. Let's talk about the pressure. Because the first step in all of this is just admitting that there's this quiet, shared struggle we all seem to be in. This need to wear a mask that says, I'm fine, all the time.
I love this line because it just nails the problem, doesn't it? We're constantly pushed to present this polished, happy highlight reel of our lives to the world. But the reality? The reality is so much messier, way more interesting, and a whole lot more complex than that.
And all that performing, it leads to this very specific kind of exhaustion. It's not the I need a nap kind of tired. It's that deep, quiet fatigue that comes from pouring all your energy into pretending you're okay when you're really anything but. It is the sheer weight of holding that mask up day after day.
And this fatigue, it's made up of a few different things, right? I mean, have you ever felt wrong for just having a bad day? Or felt like you had to hide your pain so you wouldn't be a burden to anyone? Or maybe you rushed to find the lesson in something hard before you've even had a chance to, just feel it. Every single one of those adds another layer of weight to that forced smile.
So let's talk about the antidote. If the problem is this heavy mask, then the solution has to be radical permission. Permission to just be human.
This is so important to get. Sadness is not a glitch in your system. It's not a bug. It's a part of the human operating system. It's a totally valid and honestly necessary emotion. It's absolutely not a sign that you are broken.
And hey, the same thing goes for anxiety. In a world that is always demanding more, feeling anxious isn't some kind of personal failure. A lot of the time, it's a completely logical response to all the pressure we're under. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're plugged in and you care.
So here's the big reframe. This is the crucial part. Instead of seeing these tough emotions as a weakness, what if we started to see them as a sign of depth? There's a real strength, a profound dignity in just allowing yourself to experience the entire range of what it means to be alive. The good, the bad, and everything in between.
And really, this is the ultimate permission slip, isn't it? You don't have to have it all figured out. You are 100% allowed to be a work in progress. You can be messy. You can need quiet time. You are allowed to be beautifully, authentically, and completely unfinished.
Okay, so we've given ourselves permission to feel. That's huge. But what do we actually do with that? How does it work in practice? Well, this brings us to a massive shift in how we approach our feelings, moving from trying to fix them to simply witnessing them.
The key tool for this whole thing is something called the observer. Think of it as the part of your own mind that can take a step back, the part that can watch your feelings come and go without getting totally swept away by them. It doesn't judge them, it doesn't try to change them, it just acknowledges them. It says, I see you, and it's okay that you're here.
So you've basically got two very different ways you can go. The conquering approach, well, that's our default mode, usually. It treats tough emotions like they're enemies to be defeated. The only question it asks is, how do I make this stop? But then there's the witnessing approach. It sees that same emotion as a messenger. It offers acceptance, and it asks a much more curious and way more powerful question. Why are you here?
And that question leads us to our final idea, and this one might just be the most transformative of all. It's a whole new framework for what your emotions are even for.
So check this out. When we stop fighting our feelings and start just observing them, they completely transform. They stop being problems to be solved. They become information. They become valuable data points that are trying to tell you something important, maybe about your needs or your boundaries or something in your life that needs to change.
So how can you actually start doing this? It can be as simple as these 4 steps. First, just feel. Let the emotion be there without jumping in to fix it. Second, acknowledge it. Actually put a name to it, like, okay, this is sadness, or I'm feeling anxious right now. Third, witness it. Get curious, like a scientist. Where is it in your body? What does it feel like? And finally, learn from it. Gently ask that question, what are you here to tell me?
So I'll just leave you with this one big question to think about. What if, all this time, we've had it completely backwards? What if the real goal isn't to engineer some perfect, painless life, but just to fully experience the messy, complicated, beautiful truth of being human? What might change for you if you started approaching your own inner world with a little more curiosity and a lot less judgment?
All right, let's get right into it. We tend to think that our lives, and especially the people in our lives, just kind of happen to us. But what if that's not true? What if the quality of your entire life could be intentionally designed? And it all starts with the people you choose to surround yourself with. Today, we're going to break down a system to do exactly that.
Wow, just take a second with that one. It hits hard, doesn't it? It just cuts right through all that noise, telling us we have to be projecting success and happiness 24/7. It's such a crucial reminder that being human is way more complex than that. And you know what? That's more than okay. So yeah, let's start right there. Let's talk about the myth of being always okay. It's this unspoken struggle we all feel, this silent fatigue that comes from constantly pretending everything is perfect.
I mean, think about it. So many of us are holding up this incredibly heavy mask, and underneath it all, we just want to be seen for who we are, to have our experiences validated without having to wrap them up in some neat little silver lining. This feeling that you're somehow wrong for being real, that is a huge collective weight on our shoulders. And this list just says it all. You are not broken for feeling sad. You are not failing if you experience anxiety. Being messy or quiet or feeling like you're still a work in progress, these aren't flaws. They're just data points. They're part of the full, rich, and sometimes messy spectrum of being human. There's a real dignity in just letting yourself be where you are.
So, if fighting these feelings is so exhausting, what's the alternative? Well, it's all about this powerful shift in perspective. From waging a constant, draining battle against our emotions to simply learning how to observe them. And I love this comparison because it makes it so clear. On one side, you've got this exhausting war. You see an emotion as an enemy, something you've got to fix or conquer. But on the other side, there's a totally different path. You view that same emotion as just a piece of data, something to be witnessed. It doesn't need fixing, it just needs acceptance. And that simple shift takes you from a battlefield to a place of understanding.
And really, this is the heart of it all. The validation we're all desperately searching for on the outside, it doesn't come from there. It comes from this quiet, honest moment of internal acceptance, looking your own darkness in the eye and saying, I see you, and it's okay that you're here. That is the foundation for everything we're about to build.
So this is where we build the bridge. Because accepting our inner world, that isn't the finish line. Nope. It's the starting point. It's the solid ground you need to stand on before you can start building a life that doesn't just tolerate who you are, but actually actively supports you. This quote right here, it's the key that unlocks the next phase. If you've done that internal work, if you've appreciated those emotional insights, then guess what? You are ready for this. You're ready for the next level, which is all about execution. You're ready to build a system that truly honors the real you. Let's really get this distinction. It's one thing to feel understood, and that's incredibly important, but it's a whole other universe to be structurally supported, to have a life and a network of people that is literally architected around you to reinforce your energy, your vision, and your well-being.
And this is the blueprint for that structure. We're about to break down the 3-tier connection system. Think of it as your personal guide to building an intentional, high-performance social network that actually serves you.
So what is it exactly? Well, it's a method for designing your social world on purpose. And listen, this isn't about being cold or transactional. It's about being radically honest about your own capacity and aligning your relationships with your vision, your speed, your velocity, and most importantly, your energy.
Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this blueprint. First up, Tier 1. This is your inner core. This is your foundation. We're talking just 3 to 5 people, your high alignment partners who are truly on the same page, sharing your vision and velocity. And look at that energy allocation, 70%. This is where you invest the vast majority of your social energy. Next, Tier 2, your strategic nodes. These are your mentors, your experts, key collaborators, people who provide specific leverage or insight when you need it. The energy here is variable. And finally, Tier 3 is the horizon. This is your broad, diverse network for discovery, for new ideas. It requires minimal, but still conscious energy.
So how do you actually do this? It's 3 simple, actionable steps. First, audit. I mean it. Sit down, make a list of the top 15 people you spend the most time with, and be honest about categorizing them into these 3 tiers. Second, purge. Okay, I know that sounds harsh, but it is absolutely crucial. You have to identify what we call legacy links, those connections that exist just out of habit but actually drain your energy. The goal is to consciously move them to the horizon, or if you have to, remove them. And third, automate. Think of this as proactive generosity. You set up simple systems like calendar reminders to provide value to your tiers 1 and 2 before you ever need anything from them.
And that brings us to maybe the most important point of all. A system only works if you put energy into it. This isn't just about what you can get from people. It's about what you give. If you want a high-performance network that supports you, you have to be a high-performance node within it. It's a two-way street.
And this just brings everything full circle, doesn't it? That first question we looked at, are your emotions enemies or are they data points? That directly feeds into your answer for this one. Is your life, are your relationships just a product of chance? Or are they the result of your own intentional, conscious design?
Which leads us to a really powerful conclusion. When you embrace this mindset, you stop being a passenger. You become an architect of your own life, helping to pioneer a new era of intentional living.
Just let that sink in for a second. The era of just passively letting life happen to you, it's over. The era of intentional architecture, of consciously and deliberately building the life you actually want, begins right now.
So the takeaway here is crystal clear. It's time to act. Optimize your circle, and you will optimize your life. It's time to join this community of architects and start building your very own unordinary system. The era of accidental living is over. The only question left is, when are you going to begin?